My wife and I are such big fans of your work, especially Barb and Star. If you only knew how much of your words have been adopted by us for our regular communication with each other. So thank you.
Wow, thank you. That is thank you. You just made my day.
Yeah, yeah. But I gotta ask, how much do you quote your own material if you do?
Oh gosh, I don't really quote my own material. I don't think I've ever done that. I speak in my Barb voice, but I
Yes.
think I was doing that before we even made the movie. It's just always been something that I do when I'm talking to Kristen, or sometimes with my kids, or sometimes if I'm like in a specific zone,
Hmm.
I turn into Barb.
Well, that's just wonderful. We love it. So how much does the voice play into your finding of the character? Is that what you typically launch your characters with? Like how do you with that, how do you casualize the language across your characters with this Barb and Star and Angie Tribeca?
Wow. Well, that's a really good question. I think that I try to embody these people,
Hmm.
and if you can get into that character's point of view, the dialogue will just fall out. It's not always easy to do because sometimes, it's gray areas, but
Hmm.
in stuff that's really well written, it's very liberating and fun to sort of hop on this train with this character, and then when you kind of get into this mental zone, and then it really does sort of at that point fall out. But I'd say the work is in getting into that zone. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So speaking of those gray areas, do you gravitate more toward having a character already fully fleshed out before you bring life to them, or do you prefer for them to have well-written components with a little bit of space for mystery that you can color in yourself?
It depends on what it is, which character it is, what the project is. Sometimes it works for me to very much prepare.
Hmm.
And then sometimes it works for me to be more, I suppose, at least not winging it, because I think and mentally prepare for everything, but to be looser with the approach.
Hmm.
That can also work for you, for me when I'm like going about a character or a role.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So how loose was, because I'm just thinking about that your introductory scene in Confess Fletch as Eve, and you're telling this story all while moving around the kitchen, and even the
Yeah.
way that the moving parts have laughs to them as well. So it's just like stacked
Yeah.
with the story that you're saying, the stuff that's going on in the kitchen, and then how Mr. Hamm is responding to all these moments. And so
Yeah.
did it not get mathematical, or was it
It
loose?
was incredibly technical. It was the
Okay.
most technical thing I've ever done. And then to play loose, chaotically loose on top of that was like sort of an additional challenge because of the technical aspects of everything. It's like you have, I'm, I have I'm bleeding. I'm popping a blood.
Yeah.
I'm there's flames, there's turning, there's pulling pots and pans, there's very technical blocking. Yeah, some of it when I saw it in the final was actually reversed. Some of the
Hmm.
parts were moved around like a little bit differently, which I thought was really interesting. There's always like the joy and the pleasure in seeing how something gets cut together, because there's always sometimes surprises in there. But yeah, that one was incredibly technical, which is why, but because she's so chaotic, I actually used that I kind of rode that wave
Yeah.
of chaos. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't chaotically being shot or directed. It was just because of the technical aspects for myself, where I had to do like 25 things in 3 seconds.
Right. Right. How about that moment when you're holding the knife and talking and you cut yourself? But How was that timing? Because it was pretty impressive.
That was also a technical thing because you have a blood, what's it called? I'm forgetting the word. But you have a little blood packet,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to explode the blood, and then it has to go in a certain way. So I was focused on the cutting and getting the blood in the right thing while saying, yeah, that was a multitasker for sure. And then looking across at John and not laughing at him.
Right.
So yeah, that was a multitasker, but it was energizing and very fun.
So how do you not become overwhelmed by all that? Because like the moment with your dog in the scene Mignon with like she pees when she's hungry, and then John Hamm says like I do the same thing, and it's just like if you're not really tuned into every aspect of what's going on in the scene, there's so much that you could miss. And so I feel like whatever is going on in the production design and things that are just being said on screen and off screen, like every moment is like making the most of everything that's happening in every moment. So
this is a perfect example of getting into that zone for me. I find myself a lot of times in my life and career, I've been the sort of, you're standing in front of sort of a tidal wave, and it's like I gotta go through it. There's no way out of this but through. But also, this was obviously much more of a fun it wasn't a daunting, terrible tidal wave. But when you have someone like Greg Mottola and you have John Hamm as a scene partner, I had a lot of faith in them to, help me in what was going on. And then just kind of literally right before turned on all of my senses, kind of like cranked everything up, just had to have all of my senses going at once. And then I was fingers crossed because I was hoping when I was done that I had done anything worth anything putting in the scene. I'm really hard on myself, and I was very scared after because so much had been going on. I didn't even know what I did by the time it was over.
So what was the experience like watching it back and seeing like these moments of that are just, there's like quotes like edibles make me gassy, like it's a off screen kind of quote, but like I said, if you're not paying attention you can miss it.
Yes, it's so funny with the film in general. The second time I saw it, I noticed so many more of those. I think when you're in something as an actor, the first thing you do is freak out and you want to throw up at watching yourself.
Right.
And then, so your first time you watch it, you don't really have perspective on what's going on because you just are like dreading the moment you come on and hoping you don't ruin it. At least for me. I'm like, oh God, here it comes. Oh God, did I ruin this movie? And then once I get through that part, then we went to a screening and then saw it with an audience, and seeing it there, I felt much more relaxed and I was able to enjoy the movie. And many of those one-liners I picked up the second time. And that's what I kind of love about this movie, is that it's one of those things that you keep this movie, every time you see it, you're kind of unwrapping, There's more to see and hear. Tell your wife I said thank you.
I will.